So starting off with, there are three debate formats, right? So first you have Asian parliamentary debating format, right? Then you have British parliamentary debating format, and there are other different formats which are not very commonly used. Commonly, it's most of the times going to be Asian parliamentary debates or British parliamentary debates. PD stands for parliamentary debates, right? So other formats not necessary unless you are going for a particular tournament that follows a different unique format. You don't have to learn that. Then British parliamentary is a little advanced, so you need to come to a certain level of experience in normal debating Asian parliamentary to understand how British parliamentary works, right? Excuse me, I think I misspelled British. There was an I missing. Okay, anyways. So Asian parliamentary. Asian parliamentary. E stands for debates. Okay, so this is the format. Now, there is another name that is commonly used, that is WSD. This normally stands for World School Debates, right? World School Debate Format. World School Debate Format. Now, these two are not exactly the same. There are differences, but still, it's almost the same. If you understand Asian parliamentary debate format, World School Debate format is pretty much the same, right? There's not much of a difference. It's almost the same. Okay, so let's see how the Asian parliamentary debate format works. Now, first things first, this is a debate. That means you need to argue. You need to be sort of like getting into a conflict with someone else, trying to prove that you are right and they are wrong. So what is it about? What are you debating about? What are you arguing about? So in general, you call that a topic. But in debating terms, you have a different name for that. You call that a motion. Motion. Okay, you call it a motion. So the difference between the topic and the motion, nothing much. Motion means the topic itself. That's what you are debating about. The reason you use the word motion is because these debates are called parliamentary motions, right? You remember seeing the term parliamentary? You remember seeing the term parliamentary in the format name? Remember, British parliamentary or Asian parliamentary. So why do you use that term? It's because this is a pretend parliament. Pretend parliament. What do you mean by that? You have to pretend when you're arguing that you are arguing and you are debating inside a parliament. Okay. So you guys know every country has a parliament, right? What do? They make laws. They make laws and they govern, they control the country. So when you are debating in one of these school debates, you pretend you are in a parliament and you pretend that you are either you are a government or you are an opposition debating about a certain thing, right? So that means either you are a government trying to implement something, or you are an opposition who's sort of like trying to stop a government from doing something. Okay, which is why these are called parliamentary debates. You are not a school student in that debate. You pretend you are a prime minister or you are an opposition leader trying to support a case or an oppose a case. Okay, which is why I call them parliamentary, and that's why instead of topic we use the word motion. Motion means this is like something, a law, a decision that the parliament is trying to make, right? If you are the government, you have to get this motion passed, get it approved. Or if you are the opposition, you have to get it defeated, reject the motion. Okay, so motion comes, so that's practically the topic, right? With one side trying to support the motion, support the topic, right? while one side oppose, right? Practically one side says that this motion is good, other side says this motion is bad. Okay, so the judgment says either the motion stays, is it good, it stays, if it is bad, it falls. So the duty of the government side is to prove that this motion is a good motion, keep this motion. Opposition side's duty is to show that this motion is a bad motion, put that down. So the judge in the end says, you know what, this side convinced me, I've decided to keep the motion stays. Or you'll be like, you know what, this side actually convinced me, this is a bad motion, it has to fall, motion falls. Okay, that's how the terminology works. Okay, so you get the topic in the version of a motion. Okay, right. Then there is another important thing, is that this motion comes in a specific terminology. Okay, so you always have THBT, right? THBT, or else you have THW, or you have THR, THS, right? Like that. What is this? TH stands for this house, right? This house. This house, what house? What house are we talking about? This parliament, this pretend parliament you are talking about, that's what this house means. Okay, this house means this pretend parliament we are talking about. THBT means this house believes that. THW means this house would. THW means this house regrets, right? Then THS means this house supports. Understand? So it's about this parliament.
So okay. Another one you forgot, this house has.
Yeah, of course, there can be more. I just took the most common examples, right? So basically this house means this parliament we are talking about. This parliament we are talking about believes a certain thing, right? So the government has to say that we have to believe this particular thing. Opposition says, no, we shouldn't believe that, right? Then THW, this house would do a certain thing. This house would do a certain thing. Otherwise, say, no, we are not going to do that, right? This house regrets. Government says there's something that have been already done, and we have to regret. It was a bad decision. Whereas the opposition would say, no, we don't have to regret that. It was a good decision. Okay. This house supports. There is something that is going on, and as a parliament, we are going to support that. And the opposition says, no, we are not supporting that. So that's what the argument is about, right? If I take a couple of examples, it could be something like this. This house believes that. This house believes that online education is unsuccessful. That's a motion, right? This house believes that online education is unsuccessful. So this is the topic for the motion. So this is the topic for the debate, but you use the word motion in the debating language, right? So this house believes that online education is unsuccessful. That means the government will have to prove, you know what, as a parliament, we have to agree on the fact that online education is unsuccessful. While the opposition will be like, no, that is wrong. Online education is successful. So we are not agreeing on that, right? This house believes that. So it's about believe that. You have to prove that something is good or bad. Now, in this case, you have to prove that online education is unsuccessful. Other side has to say, no, it is not unsuccessful. So at the end of the debate, the judge will be like, okay, you know what? This team, government convinced me. It is unsuccessful. Like that. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't mean that you actually believe that. You might be someone who personally believe that online education is successful. But in the debate, if your team is given this motion, you have to prove that it is unsuccessful while you believing that it is successful personally, because what you personally believe don't matter, right? This is not about personally proving what you personally believe. Right now, normally in my practices, I purposely give things that students personally know. You guys know Rafael, right? Rafael is a big supporter of, like, he likes cricket and he's a big fan of IPL. So one time I gave him a motion that this house believes that IPL should be banned. And he had to argue for that. Who's a strong supporter of IPL personally. But when you're debating, you have to forget what you generally think. It's about arguing on a certain point without any personal matters involved. You don't care about what personally you believe. Understand? It's about principles. Okay? Like that. So this house believes that online education is unsuccessful. What else? Couple of other examples for other motions. Let's say this house would, now this is something you would do. This house would ban video games. This is a policy motion, like as a parliament, we will or we would ban video games. So if you are a government in this, if you are the government in this motion, you have to prove that video games are bad and we are going to ban them. How we ban them, right? Because it says this house would, as a parliament, we would go and actually ban video games. This is not beliefs that, this is not about like us needing to agree on something. This is a policy motion. That means like something that you have to do as a parliament. We will be banning video games, and this is how we are going to ban video games. You have to explain, and the opposition side will have to show that how that is not possible, how banning video games is going to affect the society, how that is not right, and all that. Okay, and at the end of the day, at the end of the debate, the judge will be like, okay, you know what, the government made more sense to me. They proved it to me that why banning video games is necessary and how they are going to ban. Understand? Or this house regrets, THR, something that has already been done and you are just going to regret, right? This house regrets, let's say that's something that has already been done. This house regrets the lockdown of Sri Lanka. I'll get to you in a second, Sarah. Right? This house regrets the lockdown of Sri Lanka. That means the lockdown has been already has been done. This is not about us believing whether the lockdown is a right thing or a wrong thing. This is not about saying that we should be going for a lockdown. Lockdown has already been done. And the government should show how this.
So is this the past or the present?
Past. This house regrets. THR is always something about the past, something that has already been done, and we need to regret it was a bad decision. As the opposition will have to justify, no, it was a good decision. We don't have to regret it. Okay. So, and the judge will be like, you know what, they convinced me. This team convinced me that the lockdown was a good idea. Like that. Okay. And THS, this house supports. That means something that has been already going on. This house supports something like vaccination. COVID vaccination. Something like that. That means like COVID vaccination is something that is already been going, and as a parliament, we are supporting that, and the opposition should show that why we should be supporting this. Okay. Right. Wait, Sarah had a question first.
Yeah, so regarding the point that you told about THW, this house regrets of
yes.
this house would. Yeah. So you said the opposition will have to prove wrong, right? Should we prove it that we shouldn't do it or wouldn't do it?
Depends on the motion, actually.
Like if the proposition comes up.
Yeah, for the proposition, you have to prove that we need to be doing that and how we are going to do that, right? As the opposition, you have a choice. That depends on the debate, what sort of a motion it is, And also that depends on what sort of approach you prefer. Either you can go with like we shouldn't, or you can go with we wouldn't. Either ways, that your burden of proof is showing that you just have to show that why this is a bad idea, why doing this is a bad idea. Okay. Right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. Jason, question?
Sir, is house always the government?
House is the entire parliament, right? So it is like the government and the opposition trying to agree on something. Okay, house means the entire thing, entire parliament, not just the government, not just the opposition, everyone, right? Imagine something like this. Imagine that, let's say your sister, your mother and your father sort of like going somewhere, and you sort of like wanting to decide where to eat, right? Let's say you and your mother thinks that you all should be going to McDonald's, while your sister and your dad thinks you all should be going to Burger King, right? So you'll be like, this car should be going to McDonald's, would be the motion, right? And that means that not just you and your mother going to McDonald's, right? Everyone goes to McDonald's. It's just like you have to agree on that. And that's what's happening in the parliament. Whether to stay with this motion or whether the motion should fall, you are trying to agree on that. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions about how the motions would work? Yes, Nadir.
So same question, sir. It means like when government proposes a argument saying that this house believes this thing, and then still the opposition stand up and say that this house believes in this thing, and those two clashes, no, sir?
No. It just the government saying this house should believe this. Like this house believes that online education is unsuccessful, while the opposition saying, no, this house don't believe that. This house does not believe that. And you have to prove that why we shouldn't believe that. It's like disagreeing with them. Understand?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So you all can watch a couple of debates and you all will sort of understand how it works. All right. Any other questions before moving on to the next part? No, right?
No, sir, you may proceed.
All right, cool. Okay, so now that we know how the motion works, how the topic works, let's see how the setting works. As Mateo must have explained to you, there are two sides, government and the opposition, right? Government might come as proposition in some debates, right? Proposition. Like in some debates, they call the government proposition means the same thing, right? And the opposition. So each team has three debaters. Each team has three debaters. Okay. So you have a first speaker, you have a second speaker, you have a third speaker. After those are done, the second round starts. In the second round, you just have to do a reply speech. Right? You have to do a reply speech. That means it's a shorter, small speech, like a summary speech. Some call it a sum up speech. So that can be done either by the first or the second. Anyone. Right? Third one is not allowed to do that. First one or the second one, either of those people can do the reply speech. Not a problem. Okay. So normally what happens is, this is how it normally works. First speaker gets a 7-minute speech. Second speaker gets a 7-minute speech. Third speaker gets a 7-minute speech. And then there's a reply speech. Reply speech can be done either by the first speaker or the second speaker. And you get 4 minutes. Okay. These are how it normally works. So there are specific names for each of these positions. Okay, specific names. Now, if you are going as the government, if you are going as a government, First speech is known as the Prime Minister, PM. Second speech is known as the Deputy Prime Minister, DPM. Third is known as the Government Whip. Whip. Chatas, whip. Okay. And then for fourth one, of course, it's a government reply or government sum up. Government reply, it could either be done by the PM or the DPM. Okay. Normally, this more senior person picks up. All right. Then if you are going as the opposition, the speaker is the leader of opposition. Second speaker is the deputy leader of opposition. Third speaker is the opposition whip. Remember, government whip, opposition whip. And of course, then you have, opposition reply, which can either be done by the leader of opposition or the deputy or leader of opposition, not a problem, first or second. Okay. Now let's see how the speaker order works in a debate. Okay. Right, so the debate starts with government first speaker. Or in some debates, as they refer, proposition first speaker. Depends on what sort of a debate you are having, right? In fact, you remember I told you Asian parliamentary and world school debating. This is where it comes. In Asian parliamentary debates, you normally call it government first speaker. In world school debating, you call it proposition. Proposition. Instead of government, use the word proposition, but that's not compulsory. It doesn't make a difference even if you use the other name, right? Right. So PM speaks how many minutes now? 7 minutes. Okay. Then the opposition start their case. Opposition first speaker, leader of opposition, speak for 7 minutes. Right? Then government second speaker, DPM. Again, 7 minutes of speech. Then opposition second speaker, deputy leader of opposition. How many minutes? 7 minutes. Then government third speaker. What's the government third speaker's? No, it's not C. Oh. What's the government third speaker's position name? Government whip.
Whip.
Whip, right? 7 minutes. Then comes down to opposition third speaker, which is the opposition whip. Again, 7 minutes. Now this is the end of the first round. This is the end of the first round. Then once this is done, we are coming to reply speeches, right? And you start with the opposition side this time.
So which means a sum up, right?
Sum up or a reply. Both names are used, right? So we start with opposition in this round. Op, number 4, that means either the reply speech or else sum up, right? You can either say reply or you can say sum up speech. Because you're summarizing it up, right?
So does this involve the WSD?
Yeah, that's why I said, like, if you are using both formats are pretty much the same, right? If you are using the Asian parliamentary or if you are using WSD, World School Debating format, you may use the word reply or sum up. It doesn't make a difference. It's pretty much the same format, right? There's no lot of technical differences, just terminology differences. That's all. It's the same thing either ways, right? Reply speech. Reply speech, 4 minutes. And then we come back to the government. Again, the reply speech, 4 minutes. And then the debate is over. Yes.
So what are those 7 and 4?
Those are the time.
Yeah, time. How many minutes? How many minutes? 7 minutes, 7 minutes. And the final round, the reply round, of course, it comes down to 4 minutes. Okay. So, or other than these 7 minutes, guys, you get 15 seconds extra. In each speech, you get 15 seconds extra. Right? So right after 7 minutes are over, your time is not over. You have 15 seconds to wrap up your time, right? Wrap up your speeches. Understand? Right? You have 15 seconds after you complete 7 minutes to come. After 15 seconds are gone, your time is over, completely over. Okay. Right. So that's how the timing works. All clear, right? Ask me if you have any doubts.
Yep, sir, all clear.
Sir,
Yeah, Jason.
sir, what? Sir, if you didn't have time to finish all of your stuff, so what will happen?
I didn't understand.
Sir, if you couldn't finish your speech, what will happen to the team? Or like,
If you couldn't finish your speech, that means you speak for like 2-3 minutes and you run out of things to say and you conclude. Is that
no, sir.
there?
No, sir, if you had so much of stuff to say, but you couldn't say it by 7 minutes and you...
No,
Overtiming.
Here's the thing, Jason. Even if you speak beyond 7 minutes, now after 7 minutes until 15 seconds, you are given grace time. You are given 15 seconds of grace time to complete your speech, right? After 15 seconds, the judge won't jump and stop you. Judge won't be like, whoa, shut up, your time is over. No, they're not going to do that, right? You can continue speaking, but the judge won't write down anything. Whatever you say after 7 minutes and 15 seconds will not be taken into account, so it's pointless speaking after that, right? So it is similar to, you guys running out time in an exam. Sometimes you run out of time in the exam, right? So whatever you write after that time doesn't count. So it's a waste of points. So you should learn how to manage your time, right? If you go beyond 7 minutes, or if you finish your speech in like 4 or 5 minutes and you don't speak for all 7 minutes, again, it will affect your score, I think. That's all. Shiran, yes, question?
Yes, sir. Sir, what are these government and opposition?
I explained what government opposition. Did you just connect to the meeting?
Sir, I had a small internet problem.
Right. So I have explained what the government and opposition, those are the two teams that are in the debate, right? So you can watch the recording. Okay, I'll send you the recording. You can watch it.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Yes, Abhishek.
So will you elaborate on the grace time?
Oh, yeah, grace time means that you get 7 minutes, right? You get 7 minutes to speak. So when your 7 minutes run out, your time just don't come to an end straight away. You get 15 extra seconds to wrap up whatever the point you were mentioning. They are not going to abruptly stop you after 7 minutes are done, right? So if you couldn't finish within the 7 minutes, you have 15 seconds extra to complete your speech. That's all, right? So you should try to finish in 7 minutes. If you couldn't, you have 15 seconds extra to conclude your speech. That's what you mean by grace time, the extra time you get. 15 seconds, that's all. Some tournaments allow you 20 seconds, but that's very rare, right? Some tournaments only give you like 5 seconds, but again, that is very rare. Most of the tournaments, the standard rule is you should be getting 15 seconds. Okay. Right. Is that it? Any other questions before I move on to the next part? No, right? Oh, cool. Okay. Right. Then let's see how you argue. Now, as I mentioned that there are 3 debaters in each team, right? You have your first speaker, and you have your second speaker, and you have your third speaker. Some call that person the whip speaker, right? And then you have to do your reply. Reply can either be done by the first or the second. So let's see what sort of a role these people have. First of all, first speaker, what sort of position? What sort of a position is this? What do you have to do if you are going as a first speaker? right? Before that, let's see what sort of arguments do you have in a debate. There are three types of arguments that you have to come up in a debate. Three types. First, constructive arguments. Right? Number two, rebuttals. Okay. Number three, clash points. Okay. Right. Now I'm just going to tell you guys about a game show that I saw as a kid. I used to watch Nickelodeon when I was small. And as a kid growing up in the 90s, there were some awesome game shows. If you guys want, check out Legends of the Hidden Temple. Fantastic game show. It's on YouTube, right? But there was another
Yeah,
game
sir.
show. Of course, fantastic game show, right? There was one other game show I couldn't find. Is connected to debating, actually. So I'll explain how that game show works. Okay. So in this also, it's really difficult to draw using this, but I'll try. So basically that you have two teams, right? So this team has players like this, like 3 players on top in the front, right? And 3 players in the back. I'm trying to draw circles, but it's very difficult using my mouse.
So there are shapes.
Yeah, they look like, I don't know, they look like leaves. Anyways, right? And there's another team like this side. So 3 players in the front, 3 players in the back. So purpose of the game is this. You are given blocks, right? These blocks should be red. You are given some blocks like bricks, okay? Like a bunch of bricks like this.
Sir,
Yes.
there are shapes in the annotate.
Yeah, perhaps like I'm just using this. It'll be much easier. Okay, I'm just explaining to you how the game show works. Okay, so you have these blocks like this is the first, and then and of course there is a bucket of balls. You have a bucket, big bucket, and this bucket has like small balls like this. Okay, so the purpose of the game is this. The 3 players in the back, these guys, okay, have to use these blocks to build a wall. While these 3 guys in the front have to pick up these balls and attack the other team's walls. Because the other team also, the 3 players in the back will be using these blocks to build a wall here, while the 3 players in the front will pick up balls from this basket and they will be attacking this wall. So you see in each team there are some players trying to build your wall, these guys trying to build their wall, while the front guys are trying to attack the other team's wall. So this is the same principle that we apply in debating. Okay. Because in debating what happens is, as I told you, first you have constructive arguments. Constructives, right? So constructive arguments.
Just doing my this.
That's Ryan, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry about that.
Ryan, right, sir?
Yeah, it was Ryan. Yes, he has landed in Australia. So, what was I saying? Okay. So first you have constructive arguments. Okay. Constructive arguments mean that building your wall. This is about building your wall. Okay. Then the second type of arguments are rebuttals. Rebuttal means attacking the other wall.
So is it attacking the other wall or the attacking the people who are building the wall?
Wall. You just have to attack the wall, not the people, right? Because at the end of the debate, we are going to check which team has the better wall, right? Third one. Clash points means comparing the walls. That means that you trying to show that, okay, look at our wall, how strong it is. Look at their wall, how weak this is. Understand? Constructive means you need to build your wall. If you are trying to prove that online education, this house believes that online education has been failed, you have to bring constructive to prove your case, the point you are trying to prove, right? So those are called constructive arguments, the arguments you bring in to prove your case. Then you have rebuttals. Rebuttals means you are attacking the other team. The other team is trying to say online education has been successful. How you attack those? You attack the points that they bring, right? Clash points means at the in the last speech of the debate, you are like in the whip speech, you are trying to show that, okay, just compare the points that they brought. These are the points that they brought. See how rebutted they are, how attacked they are. They don't stand anymore. But look at the points that we brought in. See, no one really rebutted them. No one attacked these points. These points still stand strong. Understand? Okay.
So can you just again tell about the constructive and rebuttals and clash points?
Right. Constructive means the points you bring in to support your case. Right? Let's say that you want to, let's say the motion is this house believes that online education has been unsuccessful. Okay. So that's what you are trying to prove. You are trying to prove to the house that online education has been a failure, right? So what will be the points you bring in to support your case? Those are the constructive arguments. Let's say things like children don't concentrate in online classes, right? In examinations, children can cheat, right? Sports activities haven't been going on. So those are the points you bring in to support your case, trying to prove that online education is a failure. Those are your constructive arguments you bring in to build your wall to prove that online education has been a failure. Rebuttals are the points you bring in to attack the other team's arguments, right? The other team is saying, okay, let's say something like, let's say the other team trying to show that, okay, online education is good because more children can join in, because there are no travel restrictions, everyone in Sri Lanka can join the same class. So let's say they bring a point like that, online education is better because when you're having physical classes, only like people live close by can come to that class. But currently everyone everywhere in the country can join to that one class, right? But then you have to attack that point, right? You have to attack that point by saying, okay, you know what? everywhere in Sri Lanka, you don't have signal, you don't have connection in everywhere in the country. Some areas have bad reception. So those children are facing an unfairness, right? So when they said everyone in the country can join, that argument is not valid because everywhere in the country, you don't have proper connection. So that's a rebuttal. That's like you attacking the point they brought. That's like attacking their wall. They are trying to build their wall by saying, okay, everyone in Sri Lanka can join the same class. And you attack that by saying, no, everyone in Sri Lanka don't have connection, proper connection. So not everyone can join the class, right? Like that. So that's a rebuttal. So clash point means you compare the two walls and show. See, as the government, we showed you how children don't concentrate in online classes. They did not rebut that. We showed how children can cheat in examinations. They did not rebut that. We showed you how sports activities have come to a halt. No one is doing sports. Doing sports online is not possible. No one really rebutted that, right? So our argument stand, our wall is stronger than ever. While when the opposition talked about how everyone in the country can join the same class, we rebutted by that by saying not everyone in the country has signal connection, right? So their arguments don't stand. Their wall is very weak. So look at our wall, look at their wall. Our wall is the stronger one. So you find a clash point. That means like where the two arguments clashed and which arguments are standing strong, which arguments fall. So you have to show that our arguments stand, their arguments fall. Understand? You guys will pick up if you have the basic idea. That's enough. Any other questions? Any other things that you didn't understand? Yes, baby.
Sir, are you gonna explain about the POIs?
Yeah, sure. Too soon. I just have to get to the arguments first. I have to explain the arguments first. Right. So no issues with the types of arguments, right? Okay. So let's proceed. Now, now we saw before that what sort of arguments there are. Three types: constructives, rebuttals, and clash points. Now let's see, depending on your position, what you have to handle. If you are going as a first speaker, if you are a first speaker, right, your speech will most probably be 90% to 100% will be constructive. Understand? If you are a first speaker.
So is that as opposition leader or the prime minister?
Prime minister. If you are going prime minister, always 100% of arguments are constructive. Why? Because for you to rebut, other team hasn't spoken yet, right? You are literally making the first speech of the debate. Okay, so the other team hasn't said anything for you to rebut. Okay, so it's going to be 100%. If you are going as an opposition leader, it will be like 90% constructive. You will have a very little, like 10% of your speech will be like rebutting what the other person said, but mostly 90 to 100% is going to be on constructive side, while 90 to 100% will be like constructive. Okay, while you will have to deal with very little of rebuttals. Rebuttals are going to be quite less, especially if you are going as a prime minister, first speaker for the government. It's going to be like what, 0%. Of pretty much. If you are going PM, the other team hasn't even spoken yet, right? So what, there's nothing to rebut. So around like 10% is going to be on rebuttals. If you are going opposition leader, maybe 10%, 15% maximum, right? This is the average amount. If you are going as a second speaker, your constructive should be, let's say, okay, yeah, you can join either the workshop room or the debate room. Yeah. Okay, come join us. Right. So I guess so it's going to be around like 40% constructive and 60%, yeah, 40 to 60% constructive. Even rebuttal is the same amount, depending on whether you are going government or opposition, right? If you are going as the opposition, there will be more rebuttals for you to handle, less constructive. But as you can see, it's more of like a half speech. If you are going a second speaker, your speech is going to be half rebuttals, half constructive. Okay, mostly. If you are going as a third speaker, if you are going as a whip speaker, if you are a whip speaker, your speech is going to have very little of constructive. Now, if you are a government whip speaker, your speech may have like 5% of constructive, around 5% constructive. Unless you are going as the opposition whip speaker, then it's supposed to be 0% constructive, because you are going last for your team. So when you are going last, you are not supposed to bring new content to the speech, new content to the debate. Okay, you are supposed to deal with whatever that has been spoken. So ideally, whip speeches should not have constructive arguments. If you want to have, if you are going government whip, you are allowed to have like 5% maybe, not more, very little. Okay, you don't get marks for bringing in new content because the other team does not get a chance to rebut those. Okay, so ideally your speech should be mostly rebuttals. Your speech should be like 30% rebuttals, maybe 30% rebuttals, but mostly your speech should be mostly on clash points. Around 60 to 70% of your speech should be on clash points. So for a whip speaker, the clash point analysis is the most important part. You have to compare the two walls and show why your side should win this debate, why your wall stands stronger than the other wall, right? How your people attacked their wall and how they fail to attack your wall. Okay, that's a clash point analysis. And when you are doing the reply, okay, when you are doing the reply, 0% constructive, 0% rebuttals, and 0 point clash points. 0% clash points. You can't bring any of that. You get 4 minutes just to give a summary of what you said. Understand? You just have to give a summary of the 3 speeches your team made. You just have to say, okay, we brought in this constructive, we brought in this rebuttal, and we showed you the clash points, so we should win. You are not allowed to bring any new constructive, any new rebuttals, any new clash points, nothing. It has to be a pure summary, which is why you call that a sum up speech. Ideally, you should be talking about a summary of whatever your team said. That's it, nothing more. Okay, right, questions? Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
All right. Okay.
No, sir, you may continue.
Excellent. Yeah, ask.
Sir, like if you go for summer, like how do you explain that kind of?
I didn't understand your question.
So like when you tell a summer, it's like normally as if you're explaining like how, because of why we want to win, like something like that. And that side is like that side wall.
Sir, it is basically that how the story went, right? The sum up is.
Yeah, it's basically like a recap of what your team said. You just have to repeat.
Yeah, basically it's
Yeah,
how the
how the
debate
speech
went.
How the debate went
Yeah.
is how what your team did, like a small short note of whatever you said. Okay, right. Then let's talk about POIs. POI. What does this mean? Point of information. Point of information. Okay, right. So point of information means asking a question to give it to you in the simplest way, right? A question. Simply you ask a question. So you are allowed to ask a debater a question while someone is speaking. If Jason is speaking right now, I can raise my hand and ask him a question. I have a question for you. So for that, use a point of information, or in short, POI, right? You can raise your hand and say, point, sir. Or you can say, POI, sir. POI, sir. Or point, sir. Right? So that means you have a question to ask. That means I have a question to ask from Jason. Now, a couple of things we need to keep in mind. First of all, I told you guys you have 7 minutes of speech, right? 7 minutes. Now, Jason has 7 minutes to speak. None of us can ask Jason any questions within the first minute or the last minute. Okay. That means we can ask POIs from the 2nd minute to the 6th minute, right? Until the 1st minute is over, until the 2nd minute begins, right? Until the first 6 seconds are over, and until the 6th minute is over, we have time. Once the 6th minute starts, sorry, once the 7th minute starts, you can't ask, right? So basically, 1st minute and last minute, they are called the guarded time. You can't be asking POIs in this time. You can't be asking POIs in the guarded time. Okay.
So is it a must to answer the POI?
Yeah, that's the second point. That's the second point. Now let's say Jason started speaking. So I can't ask him POIs until he completes the 1st minute of his speech, right? Then once his 2nd minute starts, I can ask a POI, and I have time till the 6th minute. Until the last minute begins, I have time. Okay, until the 6th minute hits the clock, I have time to ask questions from Jason. First thing, Jason is not bound to take my POI, right? So when I ask the POI, he can say different things. He can simply say, no, sir. Denied, sir. Declined, sir. Sir, not because that I am your coach in the surname, like, to anyone.
So it's a judge,
right? No, to say sir, you say sir to anyone, right? Unless they have, as a girl, if she prefers like being called ma'am, can say ma'am, right? People call each other sir, right? Or you can say no thanks, anything, right? So he is not bound to take my question. So if he says no thanks or declined or whatever, I can wait for 20 seconds and I can ask again, right? If you ask a POI,
if I denied, sir, within 20 seconds, I could accept the same POI, right?
That's not a problem. That you can deny, and if you want a movement, you can say, instead of deny, you can say, I'll take you in a movement, right? In a second, sir, or something like that, right? So then you can say, or if no one is asking POIs, you can simply pause your speech for a second and be like, are there any POIs? Okay, so I have completed my constructive arguments. Before I move on to my rebuttals, are there any POIs? Then if anyone has POIs, they will ask. Understand?
Yeah, okay,
right?
sir.
So the thing is, if Jason denies me from a POI, I can't ask the next POI until 20 seconds pass by, right? If you ask, it is called heckling. That's like a violation. That's a rule violation. Then you will get penalized for that, right? So because that will sort of bother the speaker. Okay. After 20 seconds, you can ask the next POI, not a problem. All right. So when you're taking the POI, the person can say, let me take, are there any POIs I can take? And you can't take POIs in the guarded minute. Okay, so if you are taking a POI, take that in the 5th minute or the 4th minute. Once the 6 minute hits, you can't be taking POIs. Okay, so that's how points work. Now in online debating, some debaters prefer having the POI in the chat box. Some people say, don't interrupt me. If you have a POI, put it in the chat box. So instead of like unmuting and saying POI, sir, you can put in the chat saying POI, sir. You just put that in the chat like this. Okay, like that. So those are the basic things about debating. And the other thing I think you can learn from, you can learn with the experience, right? Then I'll teach you all about prep time, right? How prepping. Yeah, before that, I can take questions.
So speak skills and stuff.
That of course you have to improve. Like, you know, today is a workshop about the basics, right? So
Sir, can we deny the POI always?
Yeah, no problem, not a problem. You can deny all the POIs. You can not take any POI in your speech, not a problem. But then that is sort of going to affect your score. The judges will think that you are scared to take POIs, and the judge will give you lesser marks because of that. Okay. Secondly,
okay,
you shouldn't take too many POIs also. Then the judge will think you have nothing to say. When you run out of things, you may take too many POIs. And actually that's a tool you can use. Let's say that whatever you wrote on your papers have ran out now, you have nothing to say. You can ask, are there any POIs? When someone asks a POI, you can use your time to answer that, right? So that's what happens when you take too many POIs. So ideally 1 or 2, that's the limit.
So sir, within that 7 minutes, we need to talk all the 7 minutes. We can't stop in the middle.
No, we can stop in the middle, but that affects your score. If you don't complete your speech, that affects your score, the final score you are getting. It doesn't look like you are a good speaker if you finish too early, right? To prevent that, if you ran out of things, you can take a POI, right? Abhishek, you have a question? I see your hand raised.
Yes, sir. What is the amount of the POIs we can take?
Yeah, as I said, that normally 1 or 2. Normally 1 or 2, that's like the amount. If you have a lot of things to say, just take 1. If you don't have a lot of things to say, take 2. Ideally, it is recommended either to take 1 or 2. Right? But if you really run out of things to say, take a third one, not a problem. And if you have so much to say, then just ignore all the POIs altogether and continue. That's also not a problem. But then again, the issue is it's going to affect your score, right? And the thing is, if someone asks a POI, you can't wait. So you can't start giving the answer before he's done. You have to wait until he's done asking the question. This is something that beginner debaters, this is a mistake beginner debaters make. When someone is asking a POI, before the person completes, you just jump in and you just give your answer. That's one. And sometimes you ask a question back, right? Let's say Mateo is asking, sir, that in your argument, you suggested that children should be given free laptops for an online education. So what are you going to do if children start using those laptops for video games instead of education? Then I am going to, instead of answering that, okay, sir, do you have any idea that, how do you know? I'll be asking Mateo, how do you know that children will be playing video games and not education? So I can't question him back. I'm supposed to give him an answer. Right? Sometimes when 2 junior teams, like 2 beginner teams are debating, it goes haywire because you ask a POI, okay, sir, you are giving laptops because these children, and what if these children start using laptops for video games, not education? What do you say about that, sir? Then the debater is going to be like, how do you know that children are going to use that for video games, not for education? And then again, the POI person is going to be like, sir, how can you be so sure children can be like, so instead of like the debater speaking, now they're having like a 2-on-2 conversation. No, that doesn't work like that. Once someone is speaking and the person is like, I'd like to have your POI, then Mateo should unmute and he should ask his question. I should wait until he's done with his question. Then he mutes. Then I need to continue with my speech. I can't be questioning him back, right? And also you can't be asking follow-up questions. Once I'm answering this, Mateo would unmute again and he would try to ask another question. No, you only get one question. And you shouldn't take too long. You shouldn't take more than 10 seconds to ask your question. Maximum is a 10 seconds. Okay. Right. So you guys will learn this with more experience. Then prepping. I will teach you guys how prepping works while having a real prepping session. Okay. Do we have enough debaters here to have a practice, like a exhibition debate? How many seniors do we have? Mateo, Caden, Vinesh?
So I'm here.
Right. If we can have, we might have a couple of other people in the other room as well. I'll just go check it out and come. Wait, we put this to pause. Right. So let's have a warm up, like an exhibition debate. So for you guys to observe, right? So the debaters who are debating today, please focus on clearly showing what your constructive arguments are. Clearly tell that what your rebuttals are. Clearly show what your clash points are. Caden, I think you can do third, and Yevan, you also can do third. So make sure that you guys show your what do you call your clash points properly. So these new students can understand how a clash point is presented. Okay, right. So we'll give a very basic motion. This house believes that school children should not wear uniforms. Okay, right. So prep time starts now. We'll give you 25 minutes to prep. We'll start the debate by 8:50. Okay.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, what debate rooms are going? Sir, who is up and Gov?
All right, sorry. So Caden's team, Mateo's team should go Gov. Caden's team should go opposition. Okay. Right. So you guys can walk.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. If you're having a debate for juniors, is it on Thursday or Sunday?
We are having a debate on Sunday. It's going to be a selection debate. Whoever the best performers will get to go for that tournament. Okay, so that's on Sunday. Until then, you guys can we will be having a couple of practice sessions for juniors where I will be putting you all to team up with the seniors, and you all can have a couple of debates until Sunday. Okay, so that's happening every day. Just come wherever you are free. Okay, right. So you all have time till 8:50 to prep for this motion. Okay.
Sir, one question. The rooms, like what room should government
any room.
and
Talk to your teammates. Talk to your teammates and choose any room you like. Because after like the 7th, 8th room, all the rooms are just unnamed. Use any room you like. Okay. Right. Okay. So if the debaters can go for your particular rooms, I can teach these guys about prepping.
Yeah, government come to room number 4, please.
Okay, sure.
You guys can quickly move to your breakout rooms.
Sir, can you move me to room number 4? Yes,
Yes, even me.
It's Zoom late.
Yes, sir, I can't. Yeah, could you put me to room number 4?
So opposite, can you put both my numbers to room what do you call, to room 11, please?
Okay, now so it's okay.
Wait. Hold on. Sorry, Evan, you can't be assigned. You have to pick the room yourself, I guess. Right, okay. All the debaters have joined their rooms. Right, okay. Now I can explain. Okay, so this is called the prep time. Okay. There are two types of motions. Now you guys know what motions are. There are two types of motions. Important to jot down. One is prep motions. Other ones are impromptu motions. Okay. Prep motions and impromptu motions. What is the difference between these two? Prep motions are the ones that you get to know quite early. Okay. So normally these prep motions are released, let's say around a week before the tournament. Prep motions are released about like a week. Could depend, like sometimes. Now last time we went for a tournament in Slovenia, the prep motions were released 1 month before the tournament. They were released even before the registration started, right? They said these will be our prep motions. Okay, week before or a month before. So you have time. You have time to do research, right? You have time to do research, time to come up with your arguments and all that. Impromptu are more challenging. Why? Because you only get 30 minutes or sometimes less.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, on Sunday, what are we having, sir?
We'll get to that. Okay, so first we'll just break this down. First we'll explain this and then I'll explain to you about what's happening on Sunday. So prep motions means that you get the motion way before, you have plenty of time to do research and prepare. Impromptu means you just get 30 minutes. You are not allowed to use the internet. Even using the internet is useless because whatever the statistics you find on the internet are not valid in this debate, right? It's always going to be like very much principle based. You have to quickly come up with arguments and quickly build whatever during the prep time you get for an impromptu motion. Prep motion, prepping, you get like plenty of time. So that's not a problem. Okay. Right. So let's say, yeah.
So what is impromptu?
I just explained. Impromptu means you only get 30 minutes to prepare. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Instant motions. Instant. They release the motion 30 minutes before the debate starts. Now, just like I did. I just gave them a motion. I just told them 25 minutes. You have 25 minutes to prepare your arguments. Okay. That's what you call impromptu motions. So when you have an impromptu motion, what do you think they might be doing right now? They need to come up with their constructive arguments. That's the first thing you need to do. How do you build your whole? What should be your constructive arguments? So ideally, you come up with 3 constructive arguments. That's what you normally do. Okay. 3 constructive arguments. Rebuttals, you can't really prepare before. Why? Because rebuttal means like attacking what the other team said, right? And you can't
predict the future.
Yes, exactly. You would know what they will speak about, right? You would know what they are going to speak about. So rebuttals, very difficult. So what you have to do with rebuttals is assuming, right? You just have to assume what they will come up with, right? You have to assume what will their constructives be and be prepared for it. Assume and prepare. Okay, you know what? They will say this. Now let's say if the motion, now today's motion, constructive, like school uniforms. So school uniforms, if the government is saying children should not be wearing school uniforms, you need constructive arguments. So there could be an argument like something like discipline. Now for the opposition team, they can use the constructive argument as discipline, right? When everyone's wearing one particular uniform, it helps children to keep discipline on, right? Because if children are wearing different suits and coming, different clothes and coming, that is going to sort of like make children like do fashion and stuff, right? And that is going to sort of like affect the discipline of children, right? Discipline of children. So that is going to be a constructive argument for the opposition. Now, on the other hand, government must be thinking, right, you know what, I assume they will talk about discipline. So we have to prepare for that. We have to find a way to rebut that. I mean, if they talk about, okay, you wear a uniform that increases discipline, we can say discipline is about the mindset. Whatever the children are wearing is not going to have an impact on that, right? Something like that, yes. Venuk, you have a question?
Yes, sir. When we are doing rebuttals, is it okay if we give examples through the point, to the motion?
Of course, not a problem. You can give examples, which I will get to in a second, okay? How you format, how you organize an argument. I will get to that in a second. So first, you have to come up with constructives, 1, 2, 3. Now, out of the 3 speakers, which speaker has to give more constructives? Which speaker's speech is going to be mostly constructive arguments?
Prime ministers.
Prime ministers or opposition leaders, right? First speakers, right? So because you have 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 will be handled by the first speaker, right? And you give the third one to be handled by the second speaker. That's how it normally works, right? If you are going the first speaker, you'll be like, okay, I'm handling my first and second arguments. Our third argument is this, which will be handled by my second speaker. So the second speaker will have to handle the third argument, plus he'll have to rebut what the other team say. First speaker, mostly it's a matter of, 1 second. First speaker is mostly a matter of giving the first argument and the second argument. Second speaker, it's the duty of like bringing in the third argument and handling rebuttals. Third speaker will have to handle whatever the remaining rebuttals, plus he'll have to provide the clash points. Third speaker. Okay. So when you're prepping, you have to come up together as a team, you have to come up with 3 constructive arguments, assume what sort of rebuttals may come. With that, the third speaker can sort of again assume what sort of clash points will be there, what will be the major points that will clash with each other. Discipline versus, so discipline is going to be one clash point because the government will be saying that, opposition will be saying discipline comes when you are wearing uniform. The government will be saying no, discipline can't be achieved with a uniform. So that's a clash. And the third speaker of the government will say, we want that clash. Opposition whip speaker will say, we want that clash, like that. So this is what you do during the prep time. Okay, Shrihan, question? Shiran, sorry, Shiran. Yes.
Sir, will our first debate will be difficult?
Will your first debate be difficult? It depends on whether you want to go for a tournament or not, right? If you are going for a tournament, it's going to be difficult. But it's okay. You need to do difficult stuff.
So let's continue, sir.
Sorry? Sorry, what did you say?
I was like, let's continue.
Oh, yeah, of course. So this is what you normally do in a prep time. Okay. Right. Other than that, in world school debating and Asian parliamentary debating, what are the differences? One of the couple of differences is that in Asian parliamentary, now as I told you, Asian parliamentary and world school debating is pretty much the same thing. The difference is in Asian parliamentary, we call one side government and the other side opposition, while in WSD, we call one side proposition and the other side opposition. Understand? That's one. Secondly, in one, you call it a reply speech. In Asian parliament, you call it a reply speech. In WSD, you call it a sum up speech. Okay? Again, the same thing as you. Yeah, I think I got disconnected. I had a connection issue. Right. What was I saying? Yeah, so those are the differences. Not big differences in the what do you call it? Not big differences in the Asian parliamentary and world school debating.
World school parliament.
World school debating. Not that different. Other than that, there is another difference that I will teach you, right? Our seniors, of course, know this. There is in world school debating, you only get one motion, right? Now you saw in this round, I just told them, okay, your motion is this house believes that school uniforms should not, like, children shouldn't be wearing school uniforms, whatever. One motion. You are supposed to debate on that. In Asian parliament, this hasn't been happening quite a lot in, Sri Lankan in online debates in the recent times, simply because of convenient purposes. Okay, but ideally, in an Asian parliament debate, you should be getting 3 motions, and you get to choose the motion you like to do. Understand, right? So this is how it works. First they say which team is government, which team is opposition. Okay. Then they say, okay, this is a motion A. Motion A, B, C, you get 3. This house believes that schools should obviously this house believes that online education is unsuccessful. Okay. For B, they say this house believes that video games should be included in school sports list. C, this house believes that schools should employ military leaders, military soldiers as disciplinary teachers. Right. So like that, you get 3 motions. You get 3 motions like this. And you get to pick which motion you want to do. How do you do that? Now you get to know whether you are going government or opposition, right? First, that's the first thing they tell you. You are going government, you are going opposition. Okay. Then they tell you, whether, what are the motions? So they tell you these 3 are the motions. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then they ask you, what is your ranking? What is your favorite motion? What is your least favorite motion? And what is in the middle? Understand? Right? So you get to pick your main preference, your least preference, and what is in the middle. So you do that by putting 1, 2, 3. Understand? You do that by putting 1, 2, 3. Okay. So you should consider which motion is more favorable to you as going as a government, right? And which motion is like least favorable to you, right? So how do you do? Now, let's say you are going as a government, okay? You are going as a government. So third one is going to be difficult, right? Employ military soldiers as disciplinary teachers. That is going to be a little difficult for you to propose, right? So you put that as 3. That is your least preferred motion, right? Then you feel like, okay, video games should be included in the school sports list. That is also okay, but it'll be much easier for us to point out the flaws of online education, right? So this will be easy for a government to go. So you put that as a first preference, and this is going to be your second preference. Now what do you do? Now you have to compare this with the other team. Okay, you have to compare it with the other team. What have their first preference have been? What is their second preference? What is their third preference? Understand, right? So anyway, when you put a motion third preference, that is out. You put, okay, this is your third preference, so that motion is out. You are not debating that. If the other team has put this one to be their third preference, that means they have removed number 3 means you get to cut that off. So you put 3 to this, that means you cut C off. If the other team has cut A off, that means what is the debate you are going to have? What is the motion? You are going to have B. Understand? Because you guys hate this one, other team hates this one, which leaves this.
Sir, I got a question. What if both the teams hate the same one?
Yeah. So let's say both teams have put 3 to this. So it doesn't make a difference. Both of you all want this motion out. So that's out. So it's a matter of choosing out of these two. So if both teams have agreed number 1 to this, that means you all also really love this motion. They also really love this motion. So you will be doing A, right? If both teams have put number 1 to the same motion, you are doing that, right? If two teams have put number 3 to 2 different motions, they have put number 3 to this. Sorry, you put number 3 to this. They have put number 3 to this. That means both are out and you are doing this. Or both teams have put number 1 to this. Then you are picking that. The real problem comes, okay, imagine that both teams have put number 3 to this. So that is out. But to them, this is number 1. To you all, this is number 1. Then what do you do? Then you put a coin toss. You tell the judge to put a coin toss and you choose one debate, one motion. Understand? Those are the possibilities. If two teams have...
I didn't understand.
Right, I'll explain once more, right? So if, okay, you don't need to read the motion, right? So there's A, motion A, motion B, motion C, right? Okay, let's say government thinks A is the best motion, B is their second best motion, and they hate 3. Okay. Opposition has put, okay, they hate 3 and they think B is their best motion and C is their second preference. Okay. Now you putting number 3 means what? The number 3 means you're cutting that off. If any team puts number 3 to a motion, you don't do that. That means this motion is out because government has put 3 there. This motion is also out because opposition has put 3, which means this will be the motion you will be doing because A is also out, C is also out. Okay. If not, it could be a situation like this. Government likes 1 better. Government hates 3 and they are okay with 2. Okay. Opposition, they also like 1 the best. They are okay with 2. They also hate 3, right? So what are the motions you don't do? If any team puts 3, right? So both teams hate this one. So both this motion is out. Now it's a matter of choosing from these. It's not a problem because both the teams love the same motion. So you do A. They both prefer the same motion, right? The real issue comes if the situation is like this. Let's say government loves A, okay with B, hate 3. Meanwhile, the opposition hates 3, loves A, okay with A, sorry, loves B, okay with A. Then what do? You take the C motion C out. Now it is a problem. They don't agree on which motion they love. Then what do?
You put a coin toss.
You put a coin toss. You tell the judge to put a coin toss and see whether you are going to do A or whether you are going to do B. Okay. If anyone still didn't understand, don't worry. Like when we are having practices, you will understand. At the moment, this is not necessary for you to pick up. Okay.
Sir, that means the same team needs to choose the same topic.
That's what we are trying to say. Like there are 3 motions. We are going to agree on which one, right? If both the teams have put number 1 to the same motion, not a problem. They agree on that, right? Or if the 2 teams hate 2 different motions by putting number 3, that means both those motions are out and you can do the remaining one. Only issue is both teams hate the same motion and they disagree on which motion they love. In that case, you have to put a coin toss. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Anyways, those are a little advanced, but I'm happy to see most of you all picked it. It's actually a little advanced, right? Okay, so the prep time is over. We'll have the debate. This debate will go till about 9:45-ish. If that's too late, you guys are allowed to leave, but I strongly recommend for you to stick around and watch this debate, see how whatever you learn will be applied today. Okay, right. So I'm going to the breakout rooms and remind them to come join and start the debate.
So for team meetings.
Yes. Sorry, Bevin, I didn't get your question.
So now, if we are having a team meeting, should like the juniors also stay for the team meeting?
No, not necessary. Not yet, right? For now, I will be having like junior team meeting separately because most of the stuff we discuss in the meeting will not be relevant to you, right? Okay, right. Right, welcome to this exhibition debate. Now, the motion for this debate is, this house believes that school children should not wear uniforms. I would like to do a quick roll call. Now, guys, roll call means I sort of trying to mark the register to see both teams are here. Is the government here?
Government is here.
Okay.
Government is here.
Is the opposition here?
Yes, opposition is here.
Right, excellent. Then I would like to invite the government first speaker, the Prime Minister, to propose the case. Here.
Give me a moment till I get the matter.
Sure. And when you start, you give a countdown and start. You say 3, 2, 1, so the timekeeper knows when to start the stopwatch. Okay. Right, Matthew, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so am I visible as well as audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, honorable judicators, honorable opposition, and my dear speakers. So, the motion for today school children should not wear school uniforms. So first of all, let me start with the definitions that I saw for today. So first being what what's the time? Yeah. So I'm a debater. I wore my uniform and I just went on the street. That doesn't mean each from St. Peter's. No, right? That's not going to happen. Same way, it's not going to happen. It is most likely that it will be told from which school he is. So let me tell the negative effects, the real negative effects of school uniforms. So they don't cultivate student self-esteem and motivation. They don't balance the social status differences that often separate students, and they don't improve academic achievements. In fact, uniforms may even be associated with a small detrimental effect on achievement in reading, his research shows. Yeah. So now I would like to take any POIs if there are any. Yeah, so since there are no POIs, I'd like to move on to my argument for today. My first argument being individuality and self-expression. So yeah, individuality and self-expression. One of the main arguments against wearing school uniforms is that students will lose their identity, individualism, and self-expression if they are made to wear the same clothes as everyone else. If this happens, then everyone will end up looking the same. It would seem bland and drab. People express themselves through their choice of clothing. They come up with their own style, which have their own personal touch based on their taste and preferences. Some like to wear pants, while others prefer skirts, and so on and so forth. It is through clothing that people are able to show who they are, while also being able to showcase and display their creativity and how they are their own unique person. What the opposition is trying to do is cage all these students into one prototype like thing, which will have only one identity, which is the school uniform. They might have different expressions and stuff, but the school uniform does clothing does a big difference to a person's social life. And yeah, moving on. Uniforms take away the ability to use clothing as means of expressing support for social causes. Students at Friendly High School in Prince George County, MD, were not allowed to wear pink shirts to support Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And 75 students received suspension for breaking the school uniform restrictions. These are ways that children express their social life and express their feelings, and opposition is trapping their expressions and feelings into one bland uniform that looks like duplicates of that looks like a duplicate which has been multiplied into thousands. Yeah, so I'd like to take the POI now.
Oh yes, Speaker, if we propose this motion today, what's going to happen to the children in poverty, because they don't get these much of facilities like so much of expensive clothes?
Yeah, well, we never told that you should have expensive clothes. You can, first of all, this is where the opposition misunderstands. We told that a person expresses their own feelings through their clothing. This is where the opposition doesn't understand it, and that's why we are in this motion today. And they can wear any clothing of their choice. It doesn't have to be very classy. It doesn't have to be very nice and stuff. They can wear anything they want. Yeah, moving on to my second argument, affecting the academic career of students. So a peer-reviewed studies found no significant effects of school uniform on performance on second grade grade reading and mathematics examination, as well as on 10th grade reading, mathematics, science and history examinations. In many of the specifications, the results are actually negative. This shows that this also affects on one's academic career, academic studies, which we would not like a clothing to affect on someone's academic studies and stuff. So this is why the house should side with this motion. So let me give a brief let me brief out the things I told for today. So we brought out some definitions, and we brought out two arguments as individuality and self-expression, and my second argument being effect. We brought out many points, and we brought out a very strong framework, and this is why the house should side with side proud to propose.
Right, please reset the clock. As you guys see, it was a good speech, right? The definitions were there. He clearly showed what his constructives were. Small weakness in that speech was he went a little over time, right? He went to 7 minutes and 32 seconds, while he should have completed at 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Right, okay. Thank you for that wonderful speech. Now I'd like to invite the first speaker of the opposition to further propose the case. Yeah. Sorry, further oppose the case.
I hope I'm audible. Please let me know if I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. My name is Sara Mulaffer, and I am the leader of opposition who will be speaking on behalf of the House believes school children should be wearing uniforms. My gender pronouns will be she, her. I will be starting my speech in exactly 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone. So today I will be framing out my work in the forms of rebuttals first, definitions second, and my constructive arguments. Rebuttals, as the speaker brought out in his arguments, individuality and failing in bringing out support. These two aside, I would like to bring out the fact that he brought out a statement that he will be bringing out solutions. We are not here to prove that there are disadvantages and solutions that can be found, but instead we are here to prove that school children should be wearing uniforms. Therefore, I pointed out that his solutions were not clearly stated, nor were his disadvantages. Speaking on my rebuttals on the two arguments, on the first argument he made about individuality, sir, if you're worried about the social life more than the academic life, I would like to give you a solution of bringing out a fact that it's only 8 hours a day that is allocated for a student to interact. And in order to bring out individuality, not through clothing, but we have various subjects and skills and activities that will bring out their individuality. We will not be caging them because they have other aspects in their lives or school life to focus on, and in order to bring out their personality. And failing in bringing out support, there are various ways to bring out support. It is not vital to state only one, and like the example you gave is skirts were prohibited. There are many other methods that they can actually opt for to bring out to support a rightful cause. And with my third rebuttal, go ahead.
Yeah, you told there are many other ways to express their feelings. Well, that's what. Well, what can we do? Because I clearly told that those children got suspended. About 70 children got suspended. So what can you do about that?
I was just stating it as a rebuttal, and I will be moving on. And in order to help out with your POI, I'll be explaining it in my arguments. Moving on, now I would like to define what uniforms are. A distinctive clothing worn by all members of the same organization is what is meant by uniforms. The motion clearly does not state school uniforms, it states uniforms. Thereby, the proposition got their definitions wrong. Moving on to my arguments, I will be speaking on 3 to 4 arguments with the permission of time. The first argument that I will be stating will be on equality. There are three layers of analysis for this argument, and speaking on that, I would like to let you all know that donning uniform abolishes discrimination. How so? It enables someone to feel that there will be no superiority or inferiority in an environment that they will have to spend 8 hours of their day. This also supports the fact that students will wear school dresses and act according to it. They will act responsible because they contribute to in an organization that's very vital in society. This also is supported. My second layer of analysis is the fact that teachers will be giving respect and be kind to the students irrespective of their differences. This also means that teachers and students, they will have a clear difference in between them because of their job roles. So there will be equal treatment in irrespective of their differences, and their roles will be assigned to each other. There will be an abolishment of superiority or inferiority in each of the members in the society. My second argument is focused on university in diversity. What does this mean? It means inclusion. You become a part of an organization which is also known as a school community, which means that the student understands that no one is standing out or standing in, but they are accepted for who they are. Now, there are several students who come from different families and economic conditions. Now, these differences, they are bound to feel like that these differences will make an impact in their school academic life. Now, due to wearing uniforms, there is a clear identification that there is unity in diversity. Elaborating on that argument, I will be also touching on the fact of class environment. So, in a class environment, students face less distraction. How will they face less distraction? They won't be, like you mentioned, sir, different choices, different clothing. They won't be focused on speaking about what other clothes people are wearing, and speaking or looking at other people's clothing, or like feeling like, okay, they are doing better than me, they look so good today. Instead, there will be a serious environment and a sharpened focus. Therefore, the performance of all students who wear uniforms is enhanced. And in order to bring light to the fact that school children should be wearing uniforms, one step further, I will be elaborating on my fourth argument. That is, there will be less conflict. This argument has 2 layers of analysis. The first one being less stress, no stress, and the second one, intimidation. Speaking on the first one, parents or the students won't have to face waking up early in the morning and stressing out about what they have to wear, what they have to wear to look good, what they have to do, what they have to iron. They won't have to face all of this if they were just given a set or an standardized set of clothing that they have to wear throughout their course of academic life. This in turn reduces so much of worrying and intimidation. Speaking on the second layer of analysis, it is less conflict. How is this a point in my arguments today? I'll be saying it because of the fact that there will be differences of dislikes and likes. There will be differences of clothing. And due to all of this, there can also be the fact that there will be bullying occurring due to the differences in such clothing. Therefore, the points that I brought out were equality, unity in diversity, reduces distraction, and less stress, no stress, and fewer conflict. Therefore, I believe that the opposition stands true today with their belief school children should be wearing uniforms.
Right. Thank you for that speech. Please reset the clock. I would like to invite the second speaker of the government side to further propose this case. Here.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Am I visible as well?
Yes, you are.
Okay. My name is Vinesh, and I am the Deputy Prime Minister of the government side, and my preferred pronouns are he and him, and I would like to start my speech with a countdown in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, dear educators and the members of the House. Today, as we, the government, we are here to propose this motion that we should not let school children to wear uniforms, but to wear their kind. So first of all, I will go through my rebuttals and to my arguments. Coming up to my rebuttals. As the government said that students will follow the guidelines with the uniforms and respect each other. Now, when we think of that, how can we surely trust these children in school? Because children could change their minds in different ways. Now at school, as we as soon as our principal or someone comes and scolds us to sit or do anything, we do it. And after they go, we soon go and do something again, which is not good. So like that, could you tell these students to wear this uniform, and then when these one of these students get a big uniform, and when others come and bully them, then that the student will get bullied, and then that is not a good formation for this child. So you shouldn't let these children wear uniforms, but wear their kind. And my second rebuttal, like the opposition said that they should wear. Pure accepted, sir.
So don't you think that that in your case, in your paradigm, that the children wearing colored clothes to school, then a normal child wearing his smart clothes to school won't create any inequalities?
Yeah, sir. I was about to go and elaborate. Good question. But, sir, now think there are some children who have discomfort and have a different style in their wearing in day-to-day life. So some have these different allergies with this different kind of a clothing in that material. So then that might also affect them. So if we bring this solution that these children could wear their preferred materials with that the school administration is giving, today you should wear this color, but with any pattern and with any kind of a t-shirt or a shirt, but with this color only. So then the child could prefer his own color with his, no, not his color, with his preferred own material and stuff to find his comfortable way in wearing those. So I believe that I have answered the opposition's POI. Now I would like to move on to my arguments, which is school uniforms do not stop bullying and may increase violent attacks. So now think, when your parents go and buy you a uniform, and that uniform it fits you, but it's too big for you, and then you nothing else to do, you got to go and wear it. So then, and think it's the last moment, so then you're going to go and wear it to school. Now when you go to school wearing a big half cut arm and the big shirt, it puffers you, and then your friends start to bully you, and then you get annoyed, right? So if we bring that solution which I said, that only the school will give a color with any material you want, then that would be much more better than it. Now in when you go to school uniforms, you just have only few shops, and those few shops have only definite sizes. So now if you go and buy this normal t-shirt, you can go to many shops and buy different sizes because it has a lot of shops. So like that, we could prevent from wearing these uniforms, but to come and wear the preferred for the child. So overall, there is no evidence in bullying literature that supports a reduction in violence due to school uniform. A peer-reviewed study found that school uniforms increase the average number of assaults by about 14 per year in the most violent schools. A Texas Southern University studies found that school discipline incidents rose by about 12% after the introduction of uniforms. According to the Miami-Dade Country Public School Office of Education, Evaluation and the Management, fights in middle schools nearly doubled within 1 year of introducing uniforms to school. See, this clearly explains you how uniforms give you violent attacks in increasing them. So then we should not give these uniforms, but we should just let the child wear whatever the pattern he needs with the school's preferred color. So moving on. So so when we wear any t-shirt or shirt, then we can wear the shirt whatever we want, and we won't get bullied, because then children will think, okay, now you're very nice and smooth. Now we don't need to bully you, or we don't need to make laugh at you. Now you are like a smart gentleman. So then you get impressed, right? Then we can study happily and play happily and be friends happily. So like that, likewise, we could bring up that solution which could make friends together. Because of these uniforms, it like destroys different stuff. It bullies you. So now I would like to give up my summary for my speech. So now I'm going to show you how my argument relates with the motion. So when I came up to my argument, I told how it relates, that uniforms occur with violation and discomfort for the person, and the person is in need of his style. So when it comes to that, children like us, we have a different style. So from that, I would like to ask the judge to side with the government, and I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you.
Right, thank you for that speech. I would like to invite the second speaker of the opposition to further oppose this case. Here.
Give me 15 seconds.
Sure, whenever you're ready.
So, my name is Aiden Anthony. My name is Aiden Anthony. My gender pronouns are him and he. I will take my POIs verbally. Good evening to all honorable adjudicators. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening to all honorable educators, opposing team members, and my fellow team members. The topic at hand is this house believes that children should not wear school uniforms. In government's paradigm, what they don't understand is that colored clothes create more bullying, inequality, and discrimination of one another. In our paradigm, we show you that equality will reduce because students wear the same clothes to school, and then first I would like to structure my debate to you. First of all, I will say my rebuttals, and then I will move on into my argument. My first rebuttal, they spoke a lot of bullying, and they didn't address about the fact that I brought out only that my is to bring individuality. Moving on to my second rebuttal, they said that they can express themselves, but speaker, don't you think the first government speaker came out and said that they can express themselves, but speaker, don't you think that they can express themselves in many other ways? Then moving on to my third rebuttal.
Yes, sir.
Denied, sir. After my rebuttals, according to my first speaker rebutted that government didn't give solutions. They just they gave us, but never showed us why they believe that school uniforms should not be worn. Now I would like to take that POI.
Sir, how does school uniforms contribute to a student's social life, sir?
He speaker, he goes to schools and he interacts with his friends. Now I would like to move on into my argument. Necessity of uniforms. Uniforms helps kids to dress smartly to school. It will help them to become confident. When children wear the school dress, they feel that they belong to a particular organization. Outsiders can easily recognize which school the kid is studying. A school or a type of educational organization for the choice, color, and style of the item of clothing for the school.
PY, sir.
I'll accept that.
Okay, so now as you're saying that the uniform makes the child smart, and it unites that the child is in a good unit. So now think, as the student goes and play at school with his friends, as students normally do, then when his uniform gets dirty, it's like those uniforms are different materials, so you can't like erase them back. Now if you take a normal t-shirt, you can erase. So what is your solution after that?
Speaker, could you repeat that?
Yeah. So now, sir, as you said that the children, when they wear uniforms, they
Speaker,
look.
I get it. Speaker, don't you think there is only one uniform? Speaker, don't you think there is only one uniform? The parents will buy about 3 uniforms for the child to wear to school, right? So moving on, necessity. Moving on. I would like to give some advantages of wearing uniforms. Looking smart. Why do we think looking smart is an advantage? When we go to school, we all know that we look smart, right? Then we know that the second advantage is confidence. Then third advantage is easily recognized. For example, when a child after school, when a child goes and helps a person who's in need, and if an outsider sees it, he will know what school is from. He will know what he will know what school is from, because he can see the uniform, and in the uniform there's a logo.
PY, sir.
Accepted, sir.
Sir, do you think that people outside look identity and like they're from which school? Do you think that they do?
Speaker, it's easy to recognize. That's what that's what I was saying. It's easy to recognize because they're wearing a uniform, and we can clearly see the outsider can clearly see the logo, and that person, that outsider will want to put his children to the school that child is from. Then we see a lot of disadvantages of wearing different types of clothing. Jealousy. What is jealousy? Jealousy is a type of emotion we all get. For example, when a rich child wears rich clothes, and when a poor child sees that, he will feel jealous because he doesn't have those things. Then another disadvantage is judgmental. When that poor child sees the rich child, he will when the rich child sees the poor child, he will start to judge him because he's not for him he's not wearing the right type of clothing. He's not wearing the type of clothing. So that
sorry guys, I got disconnected. Thank you for that speech. I would like to invite the government whip speaker.
Yeah, could just give me a few seconds.
Yeah, sure, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to know whether I'm audible as well as visible.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, judicators and members of the House. We, as a proposition, are clearly proposing this motion. So first, I'd like to start with a few rebuttals. So first, I will start with my clash point, and then I move to some rebuttals, which I have. So coming on to my first clash point, freedom of expression. So as we know, the first amendment of the US Constitution guarantees that all individuals have the right to express themselves freely. So the US Supreme Court stated in Tinkerby the Des Moines Independent Community School District that it can hardly be argued that either students or teachers shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at their schoolhouse gate. Even for an example, in Sweden, a government agency called the School Inspectorate determined that uniforms were human rights violation because dress and appearance should be considered an individual expression. So decided by the students themselves. So clothing choices are crucial form of self-expression. According to the American Civil Liberties Union of Nevada, which also stated that allowing students to choose their clothing is an empowering message from the school that student is maturing.
I think Evan from 2:30.
Yeah, yes, I'm
Shan, you there?
Yes. Okay. No, okay.
Yeah. Time.
take the time. Nobody can see. Take the time. Kaden, I can take the timer. Kaden, I'll take the timer. I did timekeeping last time.
I think. Right.
Yeah, I'll take.
Mala, stop the time.
Shall I become timekeeper? Because I became timekeeper, I think, like on one of the other debates.
I don't know.
Okay.
In progress.
Yeah. So I just want to know whether I'm audible. As well as his verb. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yaman, I could start timekeeping now.
Okay. Yeah. So I prefer pronounces he and him. So I'll give a countdown from 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, good evening, judiciaries and members of the House. We as a proposition, we are clearly proposing this motion. So I will start with a few clash points and then move to my rebuttals. So coming up to my first clash point, freedom of expression. The First Amendment of the US Constitution guarantees that all individuals have the right to express themselves freely. The US Supreme Court stated in Tinker v. Des Moines Independent Community School District that it can hardly be argued that either students or teachers shed the constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. And for another example, in Sweden, a government agency called the School Inspectorate determined that uniforms were a human rights violation because dress and appearance should be considered an individual expression decided by the students themselves. Clothing choices are a crucial form of self-expression. American Civil Liberties Union of Nevada, which also stated that allowing students to choose their clothing is an empowering message from the schools that student is a maturing person who is entitled to the most basic self-determination. So if you could take an example, now, a costume party in one of your friends, you go to a costume party, but if everybody wears the same outfit, that would not be nice, and that party would not actually be lit, and you won't feel that motivated to have fun, and you will feel very empty, right? Vice versa, it happens in school too. So a student can pass his or her exams well, if the person has an interest in what he or she is doing. So then that person can pass his or her exams. It's the same as that. Now, yeah, so this uniform has this negative effect, because this children feel free when they're doing this, otherwise they don't feel like properly like passing this exam or even studying. So basically this is what we need to do. So we need to give them their freedom of expression first, and their individuality. So I'm going to come to my second clash right now: academic performance. There are some people who argue that those who wear school uniforms would perform better in school because, considering what they are wearing, they will be of the mindset that is to time to study and learn and not play around. So, however, it can be counter-argued that school uniforms are nothing but pieces of clothing, and how could this make one perform better in school? But different does it make if you wear certain type of clothing or not? But in the end, it's up to students if they decide to study and pay attention to their lessons regardless out of the outfit they are wearing. Furthermore, it can be argued that kids who feel comfortable and who actually like the clothes that they are wearing would be able to focus more on their studies, because they won't be busy trying to make the school uniform more comfortable for them. So I believe that I am here. So I believe that I have said this point, and this clash point is on our side. So, and then coming to our second point in my clash point, we know that all of us know that when you need to feel comfortable when you're doing something. So, for an example, if we take that you are an architect, right? So, when you're an architect, you need to have lots of concentration. You need to stay in a comfortable place, which helps you to concentrate and no disturbances, right? So, for as I said before, that these uniforms can sometimes feel uncomfortable, right, for a person. So these people, now even if it is an architect, so this architect will feel uncomfortable on the outfit they're wearing. So that architect should feel comfortable by having his own expression on it, right? So so that person can completely concentrate and do what he or she is doing properly. So I believe these clash points were a plus point to our case. And then, as we know, David L. Brunsma, PhD professor of sociology, State University, Virginia Tech, co-authored a study that analyzed a national sample of 10th graders and found no effects of uniforms on adventism, behavioral problems, fights, suspensions, or substance use on campus, and no effects on pro-school attitudes, academic readiness, and attitudes to school. This person also found the negative effect on uniforms on academic achievement, and later found that uniforms were equally ineffective on elementary students and 8th graders. So I believe that this is also a plus point for our case. So I would like to move to to a few rebuttals right now. So here the first speaker of the opposition clearly stated that there is equality. So we know that there can be equality. Yeah, but there's also a point is this. Now we know now those who agree that children should wear these school uniforms reason that this kind of outfit actually helps to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. So if However, who's to say that wearing school uniforms really solves that problem? Those who can't afford to buy new uniforms would just buy second-hand ones. If they have other children that have already graduated from the school, their outfit would be passed down to their siblings. Also, those who would have uniforms made using cheap cloth to lessen the expenses. In short, we'll be able to tell if someone's uniform is old or brand new by how faded said outfit looks like. Do you think making students wear uniforms really help bridge the gap between rich and poor children in school? Wouldn't it be more likely that nothing at all would change? So, I believe that we have clearly understood this point. Then coming to my next rebuttal. Then coming to my next rebuttal, they said there is less conflict. So we know that, for an example, Tony Vaughan, PhD, associate professor at Brock University, stated that overall there is no evidence in bullying literature that supports a reduction in violence due to school uniform. A peer-reviewed study found that school uniform increased the average number of per year in the most violent schools. A Texas Southern University study found that school discipline incidents rose about 12% after the introduction of uniforms. According to the Miami-Dade County Public Schools Office of Education, Evaluation and Management, schools nearly doubled within 1 year of introducing mandatory uniforms. So I believe this is a plus point for our case. So I'm going to conclude my speech. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that speech. To invite the opposition whip to provide the final speech for the opening round of this debate.
Given, sir.
Opposition whip, are you here? Caden? Rafael, you have a point?
Sir is there. Yeah, sir, he's there. Yeah, sorry, just give me. Answer is sum ups happening.
Yeah, we'll do some. I want the juniors to see how sum up speech is done.
Just give me a second. Sir, just give me a few seconds. Yeah, okay. Am I audible as well as visible?
Yes, you are audible and visible.
Thank you, sir. So first of all, my name is Caden Anthony. So I'll be doing the whip speech today. So I'll be taking the POS. You can unmute yourself and ask me. You can disturb me. Yeah. So my gender pronouns are him and he. So I'll just start my speech in 3, 2, 1, go. Good evening to all honorable educators, opposing team members, and my fellow team members. So, dear speaker, first of all, I would like to structure my debate to you. So, first of all, I'll be doing my rebuttals and then for this house, which will be equality versus inequality and discrimination versus undiscrimination. So, first of all, speaker, I'll do my rebuttals and I'll then take some POIs and then moving on to my flashpoints. So, my first rebuttal which I won't like to rebut. I won't like to rebut much on the first and second speaker. So the first point I saw was that the third speaker from side government brought a new point based on that in a dress party that these people won't have fun and such. Well, we saw that this was clearly a new point because we didn't see the first and second speaker bringing down the fact about fun. Well, we see that also in this inside government's case that they're talking to you about that we were talking to in our paradigm. We showed you that we are talking about academic life, that how the child should be a successful person in the future. But we see inside government's paradigm that they only brought you about that about a child in his social life and the effects of wearing school uniforms, but not why they shouldn't wear a uniform. So the speaker now into my as I prove that point into my next rebuttal. Then what they also don't understand is that children go to school for education in a casual way. It's only to look smart in the normal outfit your school has given you. This speaker, we have to try to understand that a child goes to school to educate himself, not for the child to go to school to for fashion parties and such and such. This speaker also they and they want the child to be comfortable in a comfortable standards to study at school. Dear speaker, we have to understand that a child doesn't have to be in a comfortable standard to in a comfortable standard to study at school or to educate himself at school. They speak of what if he has to be comfortable at school, what's gonna be your solution? We ask the pure, what's your solution towards poverty, children who are suffering with poverty, that these children don't have this much of facilities, this they don't even have money to buy a they don't have much money to buy a bag. Even in schools they don't even have a big, they don't even have a chair to sit on. So we clearly showed you that we asked your POL and we believe that they didn't really rely on this point, and we show you that they didn't answer this POI very correctly in a proper manner. So dear speaker, I prove that point. Then they come out and they say that children good average in their examinations because of studying so well, because of wearing fashion clothes and such and such. This speaker try to understand that we clearly don't see, we as opposition clearly don't see how this is going to affect a child's education, because the child is still going to school. It's just that his clothes are different because he's just going to be wearing something smart than something casual. We see that these two, like government's case, really doesn't bring out a good solution. This speaker, we also I would like to move on to my next few rebuttals. Yeah, so my next rebuttal, which would be that perception of the coloring of color things, color psychologically affect ability to focus on not only studies but also to sustain visual conversation virtual conversations. On a survey conducted, around 16,000 students stay at home due to fear of being concerned of their choices of clothing due to shame and due to the state of differences they are putting themselves in. This is eradicated by my point of being a part of an organization and inclusion. And dear speaker, I would like to now move on into my class point, which I present you. Before I move on into my class points, if there's any POIs, I would like to handle them right now. Since I see no POIs from side government, continuing with my speech. Equality and inequality. Dear speaker, we show that this creates we show that this is very equal, because the students in a school are wearing the same clothes, same outfits, and there is no difference, no much bullying and such. And something we showed you from my first speaker, second speaker, they clearly showed you that you take two individuals, a poor child and a rich child. You take these two. This rich child wears very so much of good clothes and comes to school, and this poor child feels jealousy, and it's very unequal because there won't be biased teachers to judge. We showed you that these people judge each other. I don't want to sum up this case because my first speaker is doing his sum up speech. So without further ado about equality, I would like to move on into our argument which we saw, which was clashed with side government's case, which came to speaker. We also I would like to explain the fact that we see a lot of discrimination in this in our side, because government side came out and told us there is no discrimination because they are just wearing color clothes. This causes some discrimination is the fact that because they are wearing something and the poor and the other side doesn't. Okay, then we see that these two sides are having some trouble with each other, and the second speaker clearly brought insane points about that if he wears good clothes, that the rich child will respect him and such. But we clearly see that this doesn't actually relate to his argument into this motion. So I would like to do a bit of rebuttals. Then they said about because of clothing materials of the school, he would get some allergies or something due to the clothes. So speaker, of course, when a child goes to school, he would wear cotton, silk, or whatever. But if the child is sick, if the child's parents only buy him only clothes such as cotton related things, then he would be allergic to cotton, right? So there is no difference in your point. Then we also come into the fact of this child, if he goes to school, he will get himself dirty and such. But do you think the parents only buy the child only one underwear? Do you think the parents buy him one shirt to school, one trouser? We believe not. Then the other first speaker, I asked the peer, he said that they would be only wearing one cloth, they would be only wearing one thing, and they can go with anything they want. So do you think this child could go with a sarong to school? No, right? So we believe that this government side has been so impractical in this motion and very ridiculous. So with this, I would like to conclude my speech by urging you to side with us. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that wonderful speech. With that, we've come to an end of the opening round of this debate. I mean, it's almost 10 o'clock. Thank you very much for still hanging around with us. We are moving to the second round of this debate, reply rounds. I'd like to invite the opposition to make their reply. Yeah.
Okay, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are perfectly audible.
Okay, I will be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. This is to let the House know that Team Opposition has handled the rebuttals and laid out our arguments in a perfectly well manner. I will be elaborating on our arguments by providing a summary, and that will be by point basis. First point being abolishing discrimination, thereby we eliminate feelings of being superior or inferior in a school environment. Second point being inclusion being despite from the differences in background, being economy or any other sort. The third point is the fact that there will be lesser conflicts such as bullying or being left out. This was clearly elaborated by the second speaker, who brought out there were shame and feelings of worrying that were involved with making up choices. And we also brought out that performances in classroom, in the four walls of a classroom, is enhanced better due to the distraction which is reduced. Thereby giving a sharpened focus and a serious environment. And this was also elaborated by the point of color psychology, whereas the negative effects of wearing casual clothes of choice in the student's life would affect the student's life in school academic life were also brought out, and also the fact that the perception of color clothing can affect the distraction of a student were also brought out. Then the point of being able to easily recognize which part of our school community you belong to was also brought out. And thereafter, we also brought out the points such as negative emotions were expressed and handled in very incorrect manners. This was elaborated in various points of bullying, staying at home due to fear, shame, anxiety, and the reason for such different cruel expressions of negative emotions were brought down to differences in wearing clothings. And then we also brought out the fact that there will be a boost of confidence that will be created due to being a part of a major organization. And this is supported by the distraction being reduced, performance being better, discrimination being abolished, and inclusion. We also brought out the differences of being part of the social life versus the academic life, and we brought out the necessity of having uniforms in academic life. We thereafter brought out uniforming out smartness, and we also highlighted that the purpose of attending school was to only achieve education and not to perform fashion shows. Thereafter, we also explain children's life affects in severe ways, such as, like I already elaborated, staying at home and bullying. And furthermore, we also highlighted on the fact that the opposition, in our rebuttals, we highlighted that the opposition brought out not so clear arguments. And then we also brought out the fact that there will be equal treatment in the school environment, despite them being having different roles. We also highlighted that there is unity in diversity. That is, the school uniform will act as the factor that will be making them all one, despite their various conditions that they come to school. And this also brought out that there will be no stress for the students who have to wake up every morning and focus on getting to school. Thank you, and that will be from opposition.
All right, thank you for that summer speech. Now we are moving on to the final speech of the debate. I'd like to invite the government side to provide their reply speech and finish this debate. Here.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are perfectly audible.
Yeah, sorry, I won't be able to on my camera. So I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, honorable adjudicators, honorable opposition, and my dear speakers. So we have come along a good debate for today. So let me sum up our side and finish today's debate. So first of all, we brought out some arguments as we brought out 3 constructive arguments, while the government, the opposition actually failed to even prove their point. They tried their best to bring out, prove their point, but they failed. So that's a good sign for us, because when we asked PUIs, they just gave us one line saying, like, for an example, I'll take that PUI. How does school uniforms contribute to a child's social life? He told that no, stop. Yeah. So yeah, and while we brought out some good arguments, we asked many PUIs. When we discuss PUIs, it shows that we as the more occupation in this debate more than the opposition. So yeah, and we brought out good points which the opposition failed to rebut. And yeah, they brought out some arguments which we clearly rebutted with our arguments. And yeah, they were talking about that this will create inequality and this stuff. Well, we showed in our speeches that this won't only like having school uniforms will create inequality, and we showed them how it will create inequality. And yeah, and their own kind of clothes, like having their own taste of style and stuff, will contribute to their academic side too, and their social life too. While the show was a good point that could stand through arguments, which we proved to the house for today. And yeah, by saying that, I would like to conclude, and I would like to tell the adjust side prop. Proud propose. Thank you.
Right, okay, so that sums up today's debate, and I can see most of you all still hung around to watch the debate, which shows that we have a very enthusiastic squad, and it's happy to know that you guys seem to be quite interested, right? Right, so you all must have seen how the points were applied, and it was quite important to have a warm up, like an exhibition debate, right after you guys learned the basics, right? So you all can apply what you all learned quite a few minutes ago and see how it works. Okay, anyways, so what's going to happen from this point onwards is that I am going to divide you guys into a few teams, and I'm going to appoint a senior to help you all, right? So from tomorrow onwards, tomorrow is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all 4 days there will be a couple of practice debate rounds. So you guys can come depending on your availability, right?
Sir, the same time, right, sir?
Same time, yes. Wait, hold on. Do we still have Sarah? Are you still in the meeting? You are allowed to leave. Huh? Thank you very much for staying this late for our boys.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Have a
Okay.
good night.
Bye, Sarah. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye. Right. So we shall have the practice, right? We shall have a couple of practice sessions, and then after that, on Sunday, I'll notify you all the day. I'll notify you all the time. Most probably, it's going to be around 2 o'clock. Okay, around 2 o'clock, we shall be having the selection debate, couple of debates, and I will have a chat with we will watch your debate. I will have a chat with my captain and my assistant coach, and we'll see who is capable of going for the upcoming tournaments, right? So Ladies College, they are doing a tournament, and we will be sending some of you all there. After that, there is another couple of tournaments happening outside Sri Lanka. If you all are good enough, you all may get a chance to go for those as well. Okay, now the seniors at the moment, they are like trying even bigger shots, right? So University of Cambridge are handling a tournament, and most of our guys, some of our seniors are planning on going there, right? So the debating ladder keeps going up and up. You all will have a lot of opportunities, great opportunities, right? So continue coming for practices. You will be assigned to a senior, talk to them, and you all should be able to have a good debating career ahead of you, okay?